Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Summit City Council meeting. The meeting will come to order. Madam Clerk, would you please read the adequate notice of compliance statement?
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the City Clerk's office in preparation of the council annual meeting notice dated January 8, 2018, which was properly distributed and posted per statutory requirements. Please be advised that fire exits are to my right, your left, and at the back of the room. The city has a listening system to assist the hearing impaired. If anyone needs hearing assistance, please obtain the system at the dais and return it thereafter.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bowman?
Here.
Ms. Fox?
Here.
Mr. Gould?
Here.
Ms. Little?
Here.
Mr. McTiernan? Ms. Ogden?
Here.
President Naidu?
Here. Okay. Now I would like to call upon the interns for the City of Summit to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance along with two of the students from the Summit Free Market. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, would you please read the notices regarding closed session and hearings and comments?
A closed session meeting as authorized by state statute was announced and held prior to the start of this meeting, and the known items for discussion were listed on the published closed session agenda. Please be advised that council meetings are broadcast live on Comcast Channel 36 and Verizon Channel 33, and rebroadcast on Thursdays and Saturdays on Hometown TV on Comcast 36 and Verizon 33. When invited to speak, please come to the lectern, clearly state your name and address, spell your last name, and speak into the podium microphone so that your comments can be understood by all and properly recorded. Whenever an audience or council member reads from a prepared statement, please give or email a copy to the city clerk's office at rlicatis@cityofsummit.org. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers are asked to limit their comments to approximately 3 minutes or so in length. Unless you are using an electronic device to follow the meeting agenda or need it for professional emergency contact purposes, please turn it off. Thank you.
Thank you. Now on to minutes for approval. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of regular and closed session for May 15, 2018?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Okay. All those in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, great. Thank you. All right. On to reports. Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everyone. On May 31st, the City of Summit held a meeting to present the preliminary findings from the Broad Street West redevelopment outreach. There was an effective turnout with over 70 citizens joining me, all the members of council, and city staff for Topology's presentation. Just in case you don't know, Topology is the planner that we're using for this project. If you missed the meeting, the full presentation is available on our city website at cityofsummit.org. Taxes. I'm actually pleased to share an update on our progress in keeping Summit's tax rates stable. In 2018, there was no increase in the municipal tax rate. The county tax increased by 1.75%, which is less than it's been for many years. But due to the equalization rate, Summit taxpayers will in fact see a decrease in their portion of the taxes for the county tax. There'll be a decrease in your county tax. And the Summit school system came in with a budget at 1.9%, again below 2%. So I want to thank the county and schools, and of course the city and my council members and the city administrator and the treasurer for working so hard in keeping in with their financial prudence to keep the tax increases at a minimum while ensuring future investments, infrastructure, and the needs of our children through education. Last weekend, Summit held one of our best Memorial Day parades and ceremonies. I was happy and proud to march with so many of our veterans, and for the first time this year, our hometown heroes, whose banners are proudly displayed on DeForest Avenue through July 4th. I want to thank the American Legion, the Department of Community Programs, and all of our volunteers who made this day so memorable. I'd like to recognize the City of Summit's 9 new interns, which started to work on June 4th. The interns work in various departments in the city, including community planning, communications, economic development, and more. These internships help young residents gain important work experience by becoming involved in the community and working on municipal projects. Council President will be asking you all to come up and introduce yourselves in a little bit. And I also tonight will be recognizing the Summit Free Market student leaders who are here this evening. 2 more quick things. Every Thursday throughout the month of June, Summit Downtown will be featuring live music performances. Local artists will be performing in various locations in the downtown between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. So go to Go to summitdowntown.org to find out those exact locations, or more preferably, just walk around downtown because it's really not that big and you can find where people are out playing the music. So Thursday night's supposed to be a great night. Tomorrow night, lovely evening. I hope to see lots of you down there strolling around and listening to the music. And last but not least, New Jersey Transit contractors plan to begin paving the Morris Avenue Bridge Friday, June 8th. Although the exact date of the bridge completion is not definite, New Jersey Transit estimates it to be completed around the end of June. I am in daily contact with New Jersey Transit, and while we all see that, the equipment's gone and it looks like it's almost there, and it's as soon as you decide you really want to get something done, you can't take it anymore, then you have to get it done, and that's kind of where we are. I believe they will be finished sometime in the end of June. That is their promise to us, and we're going to try to keep them to it. So, thank you.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Yeah.
City Administrator Rogers, please.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everyone. Capital project note from Department of Community Services. Construction will soon begin on Plymouth Road to replace concrete curbing, repair sidewalks, and update draining. This project is set to begin on or about June 18th and be completed in the fall of 2018. Drainage and curbing work on Tanglewood, Dorchester, and Winchester roads will begin later this summer. Once a formal schedule for construction is set, it will be released to the public. The 9th annual Tri-Can Baseball Under the Lights event, hosted by Summit Community Programs and the Tri-Can Collaboration for Children with Special Needs, is scheduled for Friday, June 15th, with a rain date of Friday, June 22nd, at Jefferson School Field at 110 Ashwood Avenue in Summit. Tailgate party for the players and their families will begin at 6:30 p.m. The game starts at 7:15 p.m. Members of the public are welcome. For more information, please visit summitcommunityprograms.com. The Tatlock Field Turf Replacement Project is proceeding well and is on schedule to be completed by the start of summer training for the fall sports season. Photos of the work are available on the city Facebook page. Recently, the Department of Community Programs has received several complaints about pets being off leash and owners not picking up their pet waste. Please be advised that by city ordinance, any person in possession of a dog must carry proper equipment to dispose of waste and must dispose of the waste in a sanitary manner. Dogs must be leashed at all times when not on private property. Any individual who fails to comply with the laws could receive a $50 fine. And lastly, DCP employee David Guida will be honored as a Civic Rising Star at the United Way of Greater Union County's annual celebration. The celebration will be held June 13th in Clark. As a sponsorships and programs coordinator at the DCP, Guida has helped to fund special events in Summit and has furthered the city's relationships with local businesses and nonprofit organizations. On behalf of the City of Summit, we congratulate David and thank him for all the excellent work he has done over the last several years. That's all I have for this evening, Council President. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Let me just make a couple of announcements or comments. They all revolve kind of around service, I think. And even the theme of, I guess, tonight's meeting, you'll see a lot of discussions about service. We're going to have a presentation on Shaping Summit Together and the work that they do. But let me first start with the free market, which we will be honoring to students and their efforts in the Summit Free Market. But I also want to recognize two of their adult mentors and teachers and involved. Chris Lee Joy is here with us, and Amy Cairns, who I know when I go there to the free market, they are there from morning till night, or that they're open. So this year, April 27th and 28th was the Summit Free Market. About 25 volunteers participated in it. And I had gone at least for one of the days, stayed there for a little bit of time, and there was just a constant stream of people who go in and out. And I think many times I've spoken about this from here, that the Summit Free Market is a win-win-win situation. It's a win because it reduces the amount of waste that goes into our, that need to be hauled away. We pay about $100 per ton if we have to haul away that waste. So every time we prevent waste from going in to be disposed, that is money saved from taxpayers. It's a win because the stuff is being reused in our own community. The people who get to use it are our own fellow residents. And then, of course, it's an overall win for the environment because we are not producing more and more stuff that needs to be thrown away. I think if you pick up the newspaper nowadays, virtually every single day there's a discussion about plastics and other items that cannot be that be used one time and then remain in the environment for decades on end and have significant impact. So it's not simply people who volunteer at the free market are doing it that have one benefit. It's multiple benefits that ripples through this community, and we should understand that. Secondly, I want to talk about the fact that we will be about the historical marker that we will be having a discussion of in a resolution for Fountain Baptist Church, which is the oldest African American church in the city of Summit, that will be having its 120th anniversary this year. Dr. Betty Adams is here in the audience and will be speaking about it a little bit later, so that's really the historical minute that I've so conveniently passed on to somebody else to do. And third, as the mayor said, we have our interns here who will be with us for 4 weeks here in the city of Summit, working in various departments. So I'd ask all of you guys to come up as a group here to the front, introduce yourself so everyone in council can know who you are, as well as people watching and so forth, and tell us your name, the school you go to, and what department you're working. Come on up, guys.
Where you going?
Here, yeah. In front of the
He's got his eyes on me.
Yeah, exactly. Just go in a line, just all together, pick one starts, and then the next person, and the next person, and the next person. There you go.
All right, my name is Daniel. I go to Rutgers University, and I'm working for the administrative department.
Okay, thanks, Daniel.
Hello,
Yeah.
my name's Christopher Kelly. I'm working for the tax assessors department, and I go to Northeastern University.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dan Phipps. I go to Virginia Tech and I'm doing economic development.
Hello, my name is Laura Baldacchino. I'm working with the engineering department and I go to Carnegie Mellon.
Hi, I'm Erin Trindell. I go to Elon University and I'm working in the administration department. Hi, I'm Natalie Zagorski. I also go to Elon University and I'm working in the Department of Community Programs.
Hi, I'm Hannah Russo. I'm working in the communications department and I go to Wellesley College.
Thank you all, and I know we're missing two of your colleagues, Annie Palmer and Umar Razak. So I'm sure as we thank for them as well as for you guys, we want to thank you for joining us. We hope it's a nice, productive, fun summer, and that you not only learn a lot about the specific department you have, but also about how city government works and the importance of city government and its impact on people's lives. So thank you again. Okay. Moving on. We have a couple of presentations. So Madam Mayor, the first is a certificate of recognition.
Yes. This is a certificate of recognition for Elia Smith. If you want to join me at the podium, Elia? There is a contest for an essay discussing what your municipal community does best, what your government does best. And it is for Summit High School students, for all high school students throughout the state, to apply and write an essay. And in my opinion, and there were several applicants this year, Allie wrote an extraordinarily good essay. And so in my opinion, she's super. So I nominated her as a semi-finalist. The judges didn't see fit to give you the award. I think they are so wrong. Anyway, I want to read this to you. Certificate of participation presented to Allie Smith, Summit City State finalist, for your interest in civic contributions to the community as evidenced by your participation in the 24th annual Louis Bay II Future Municipal Leaders Scholarship Competition. And this is by the New Jersey League of Municipalities. Allie is a member of the rescue squad in the Summit. She has volunteered countless hours at the Y, is a strong leader in the high school, and I'm very proud of you. I'm very grateful that you opted to join in this competition, and I know you've got a really bright future ahead of you. So thank you so much.
All right. The second is the certificate of recognition for Timothy and Emily, and I'll join the mayor for this one.
We have lots of students who have worked hard over the years for the free market, and when you go to the free market, I don't know if everyone has been there, but it's just a constant amount of activity, as Council President had alluded to before. But you two deserve special recognition for your outstanding contribution to this organization. And without effective leadership from you and the time you spend, not only at the free market, but getting other students to be there and creating a kind of a convivial atmosphere, it wouldn't be anywhere near as successful as it really is. So I'll read one, you may read the other. In recognition of your outstanding contribution and dedication as a volunteer on the Student Organizing Committee of the Summit Free Market Program for all 4 years of high school. Your countless hours and outstanding job of helping to secure high school volunteers, generating interest in the program, and willingness to work all day during the Saturday events will be greatly missed by the team. You are a shining example of student-driven volunteerism in our community. I present this to you on June 6th at our council meeting. And thank you very, very much.
Emily, in recognition of your outstanding contribution and dedication as a volunteer on the Student Organizing Committee of the Summit Free Market Program for all 4 years of high school, and for adding enthusiasm and creativity to your role as co-chair and social media manager of the Summit Free Market Facebook page. Your countless hours of volunteer participation and passion for the environment will be greatly missed. You are a shining example of student-driven volunteerism in our community. On behalf of the Summit City Council and the Mayor, we thank you. Congratulations again, guys. Congratulations.
So would you like me so that people...
Yeah.
Here's, there you go. Your tax dollars at work. Okay.
And now we're going to have our presentation for tonight from Annette Dwyer on Shaping Summit Together. Come up, please.
Thank you, Council President David Nadeau. I appreciate the opportunity to come tonight and to present to you a little bit about Shaping Summit Together. Many of you know about the organization. Maybe many of you have worked with us over the course of time, but this might be a good opportunity to take a status of where we are as an organization now, maybe a little bit about our history, and then what we might be able to work together on going forward. So if possible, I'll sit at this desk so that you can look overhead and I can take you through some slides. Thank you. Infrastructure set here. Okay, so as our name implies, Shaping Summit Together is an organization that is collaborative by nature. We'll just let those sirens go by. Okay, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So who we are and what we do. We're a grassroots organization, we're a not-for-profit, and our mission is to maximize Summit's potential as a mature, diverse suburban community. Our goal is to foster efforts to ensure that Summit continues to be a community that works together to shape its future. With our community partners, who are many in Summit, we implement programs to enhance social and cultural literacy, character, values, and service, overall personal health, and prevention of drug and alcohol abuse. Let's step back a second and remind ourselves of our history. And for those of you who have been in Summit for a long time, you may have participated in the creation of this organization. So we emanated out of a committee or an initiative called Valuing Diversity, and this was before 1995. And that was a precursor to the Mayor's Forum on Diversity. In 1995, our organization was set up as Summit 2005. And its clear mission was to be an organization of organizations and individuals who collaboratively were responsible to identify and oversee implementation of initiatives over a 10-year time horizon designed to help Summit reach its full potential as a mature, diverse suburban community and to facilitate those efforts so that we can shape our future. In 2005, those stakeholders agreed that the organization's reason for being had a longer time horizon than the name had 2005 implied. So the name was then changed to Shaping Summit Together. The past chairs of the organization were Mia Anderson, Janet Malbeck, I think Councilman Andy Lark at one time chaired the organization, and there had been others. I'm the current chair, and I've been the chair since 2007, and it's been my joy and privilege to serve. Shaping Summit Together, the organization that I described with that 10-year history, merged with the Summit Municipal Alliance in 2008, adding on the mission to prevent substance abuse. And a lot of my presentation today is going to talk to you about why we did that, is it making sense, and for the funds that we receive from the City of Summit, how we've been using those funds. This is just a thing that you can scan. Basically, our organization is large in number, but shallow in overhead. So for example, we have a couple of officers and we have board members who have seats on the boards. The board membership is comprised of seats, meaning, let's pick on the Summit Y, for example. They occupy a seat, whether Paul Kilticott is the CEO or not. So what it means is, for as long as this organization stays as a going concern, that each of the member institutions who help form us will have a seat at that table for governance. And so that perpetuates the mission, the stability, and the voice that we have in that organization. And that has been done deliberately for that longevity and that posterity. So you can see by scanning it, we have all areas of our community represented: the library, the program providing agencies, the Summit Public Schools. We have the Summit Interfaith Council. We have the city agencies, the police. We also have the EMS squad. And we are proposing a board position for Summit Psychological Services. And I'll go into more detail later as to why we're doing that. So this graphic is meant to communicate a couple of things. First of all, we have a strategy, and our strategy is to hold a neutral domain for cohesive integration of meaningful and important community values exemplified through programming. Said another way, we are not dogmatic about what we think those community values are. We are very much a collaborative organization, and we're very much both bottom-up and top-down in how we go about what we do. So over the course of our history and what we project into our future is that we see that the role of these various attributes constitute a collaborative community, a safe community, and an aspiring community to all things good. So for example, whether you're talking about a youth or you're talking about an adult, no matter what their age, their ethnicity, their faith, their socioeconomic circumstance, gender, or other qualitative attribute that you might come up with, that building a positive self-image is very important to a healthy persona. There's a role of nutrition education, there's a role of fitness education, there's a role of pain and stress management, there's a role of drug abuse resistance education, the role of safe people to talk to in our community. There's a role for character education, community service, social and cultural literacy, recreation and entertainment, wholesome, that is, and overall personal health, and a role of safe places. A lot of times we talk about these topics as it relates to young people, many of whom are still sitting in our chambers here, which thank you very much for staying. But they also pertain to the adults in our community, the senior citizens, people who are disabled, people who are participating in our town with all various stories from all walks of life. So we are, as an organization, are an alliance in and of ourselves. So this slide is meant to give you a framework as to why it was in 2008 that we sat down with stakeholders and we merged with the Municipal Alliance. And just as a sidebar to you, for those who may not be aware, in the state of New Jersey, there are many municipal alliances, so many communities have them. And those alliances are constructed with various stakeholders or partners, very much like the ones we have. There is a mechanism in Trenton whereby the municipal alliances receive monies to put into their communities so that they may put in place drug abuse prevention programs, recovery programs, intervention programs, and other of the like. The funding mechanism for that is what I'm going to go into detail, and why it is we, quote, left the municipal system, but we still operate as a municipal alliance just under a different name. And if I'm confusing or I am not conveying this information in a way that you need it to be told, please stop me. So the Municipal Alliance at the time that we sat down was a governance body. That is, the board was appointed, so we called it quasi-governmental. It had core resources of chair leadership, a coordinator, and it had marketing and PR. It also had program delivery through partners and grantees. So the application process to Trenton, to let's say that the board decided that there was going to be programs constituting a $30,000 budget. That money would be applied for through the Municipal Alliance, maybe a year or two in advance. Those organizations would have to advance spend the money to put in those programs, put details in about who attended and what the, quote, effectiveness of those programs were. And then they would have to go back to Trenton and report on that and then get reimbursed for those funds. So a lot of times those funds were put into organizations in our community, and they would then, with their own boards and with their own volunteers, implement those programs. So it was like taking in money centrally and then sending it back out to the organizations. And there were different things that were done that would be would constitute prevention mission. So at that time, there were many things that you may be familiar with, like the Red Ribbon Awareness Program, the Family Dinner Night, the Parent Education, and many others. And the funding model was public. Based on my knowledge, all of those funds, because it was quasi-governmental, would come from a combination of Trenton funds as well as a local match of funds that the City of Summit would provide. And that number for that local match is the same, $7,890. And then you can apply for it and then defend what number of your budget you would be actually applying to Trenton for. So we sat down and realized, because in 2008, both organizations, both Shaping Summit Together and the Municipal Alliance, were both struggling with the same things, and that was basically core resource challenges and a replication of the same people showing up to the same meetings at roughly the same time. So there was discussion about how to economize on that particular construct, and we came up with merging those two institutions. So we are still a 501c3 governance body. We are independent. We would not be perceived as governmental, though we have partnerships with the City of Summit and the agencies. We work with partners, sponsors, key influences, and stakeholders, anywhere from the Mayor's Forum on Diversity to the Interfaith Council, the program providing agencies, the Department of Community Programs, and so forth. And together we create volunteer teams to implement our program. So the ones that we are doing most notably, that you hear the most about, are these large-scale programs, and that means that they are community-wide. It would be the Red Ribbon Awareness Program in October, where from the elementary schools all the way through to the high schools, there'd be different activities in the schools and in the community to foster the idea of healthy choices, intervention of anyone who may be experiencing a substance abuse problem, and then the prevention mission. The Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Justice, Service, and Equality, you're all very familiar with. I don't think I need to go into more detail about that. And then something that you all know of, but the public may not be entirely aware, is a program called One Moment, Three Decisions, which is a biannual program that is implemented at the Summit High School with all city agencies, emergency responders, as well as the approval of the Board of Ed and Common Council to move forward in a live dramatization of a car crash brought on by a split-second decision of either driving drunk, drugged, or distracted using devices technology. So all of these programs that you see and that you've heard about take place with program management, marketing, and PR, and development, and our funding model is private. The merging of a public model and a private model means that for the amount of money that the City of Summit grants to us, the $7,890, that is earmarked specifically for our prevention programs. For the private part of what we do, which might be the Martin Luther King Day of Service, or any other program that doesn't exactly fit the prevention model, we, by virtue of the 501c3 charitable organization, we can solicit donations from individuals, corporations, grantors. In our history, the Summit Area Public Foundation has donated to us. We were able to do a project called Summit's View, where we interviewed experts on youth consumption of alcohol and drugs and all of that, and we're able to come up with a very influential message to parents and teens. So that's to give you an accountability of where the funds go and how we are able to get new funds. The challenge we have for raising funds is that because we are composed, back to, if you remember our other slide, of the program providing agencies, it is very difficult for, let's say, let me pick on the Y again, for the Y to go out and seek donations on behalf of their programs, and for Shaping Summit Together, who's composed of the Y, to go out and seek donations. People get confused. They think, oh, well, we donated to the Y already. So this is an organization that has a complex funding structure, and that is why we are very, very grateful that you, the Common Council and the City of Summit and the Finance Department, Marge Gerber and all of her staff, through Chief Weck, continue to supply us with the $7,890, because it's very hard for us to raise funds, especially on a tough topic like substance abuse prevention. Am I making myself clear to everybody?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so this is what the organization looks like now. We are a governance body of the combined entity. We use core resources, thought leaders, program managers. We activate marketing and PR, and we have the ability to do development and financial management, although I mentioned my challenges previously. Our program delivery mechanism happens to be implementation plans that we define annually, and that we have program budgets. We update those quarterly. We have a mix of consistent volunteers who volunteer with us over a long period of time, and also one-time volunteers. We also have the program providing agencies who do their own in-house budgets and participate with us. We then have an annual expense. What you should note here is that we have a very lean administrative structure. We have New Jersey filings that we do, and we have insurance to the total of $530 annually. That's not a lot of money for a lean organization. And all of the funds that we get, whether it's the City of Summit funds or private funds that we get from individuals or other grantors, go directly to programs. So for example, our Red Ribbon, we spend less than $1,000, and we're very fortunate that the Rotary Club of Summit and New Providence is a very generous sponsor of that program. And we have MLK Day, which for the things that Shaping Summit Together provides, our costs are roughly $1,900, but the organizations who participate in the MLK Day of Service, whether it's the houses of worship or the program providing agencies that I mentioned before, they use their own in-house budgets to pay for those activities. So if we were to say how much does that totally cost, we'd probably be talking about five or six figures for a program of that scale and scope. OM3D, it's a biannual program. The first year we did it was about $10,000. We were able to shore it up a little bit this time around, so it was $9,000. After the fire, which I'll go into more detail, was something that we did in collaboration with the fire department, and that was $1,000. So I can give you more detail, but I'm sensing that you want me to kind of move along here. And here in this in this program, right? So the sources of revenue are the $7,890, and we have $3,000 from individuals. So that's pretty much what we're operating in terms of income. So basically, we attract strong opinion leaders for high-impact insights. We facilitate messages through opportunistically through publicity channels, and we implement our own programs and/or with others. This is one major point that I would like to make publicly, and that is, as a result of strategic intention, we have become a booster for the Summit Public Schools Guidance Department, which collaborates with municipal agencies to build strong relationships with police, fire, emergency services, after-school programming, and more. This is a critical keystone, cornerstone of what we do. If we did not have access to critical mass youth and families in our community, we would not be able to implement our mission and do it with any sort of effectiveness. So there are a number of programs that I outline here, who the target audiences are. We go through our budgeting. We make sure we can have the funds, but we don't advance spend and hope to get it back. What we do is, if we have the money, we then spend it. So it's a different nuance, but it's an important nuance for financial management. Okay. These are key functions. Many of these, this is kind of like a dream organizational design, but we are currently lean on the amount of volunteers. So the invitation to present here tonight, for anybody who's watching and the general public, if you're at all interested in our message, we'd very much like to talk to you, because we would certainly like to incorporate your expertise. We don't have a lot of meetings. We try and meet quarterly, and we try and be as facile as we can at what we do. So that concludes the final slide of the presentation. The only thing I would like to do additionally is just to announce, I'm going to stand up for this. This is a campaign that's going to be rolled out in the next couple of weeks, where we ask parents in our community to post lawn signs to send the grassroots message that parents who host lose the most. Don't be a party to teenage drinking. It's against the law. And this is the social hosting message that we're trying to convey across the community. And what we want to do is be able to clarify with people that it's not about saying what you, the parent, can do or not do with your own child at your own dining room table or kitchen table. It's more about adults in our community willingly providing alcohol to groups of young people, unsupervised, on private property. And that is against the law. and that puts a lot of stress and controversy in our community. And if we're about the safety and success of our young people, then we need to send a strong message that there is a line that we need not cross. And this campaign is about just saying, please, your own personal values are your own personal values and within your family. But when it comes to the community group of children, we want to be able to have a safe experience in our town, whether it's prom, graduation, or a Friday or Saturday night. So thank you for listening. Thank you, Councilman Nadeau, for the opportunity to be here. We appreciate, on behalf of the full board of Shaping Summit Together, we really appreciate working with each and every one of you. We're open to your suggestions, and if there's any questions that you have about what we do, how we do it, and the use of the funds that you have granted us in the past or in the future, hopefully, we're happy to provide you with whatever detail you would like. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I thank you for all the years of service and guidance to our community.
And thank you for what you do as a downtown business owner.
That's, true enough.
Whoops.
Yes. But hold on, just because there may be, does anyone from council have questions? Does anyone from the public have any questions? I just want to say that, the issues that you deal with, given the leanness of the budget that you have, these are big, huge issues that really every community has to tackle with. And I again, talk about environmental issues that are on the front page of the paper, the issues that you're talking about, addiction, and are things that are definitely on the front page of every single newspaper every single day. And so it's something that we can't ignore, that we need to address. And so thank you for the work you do and for organizing with all these folks within our community, because it's not just one group or one set of individuals, but the entire community has to be involved. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and it's an honor and a privilege. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to public comments. Is there anyone from the public who would like to make a comment about something that is not on the agenda tonight's meeting? Just raise your hand and come up to the podium. Anybody? Come on up.
No,
Oh,
this
this
is on the agenda.
oh, it is?
For the hearing.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Hearing none, I'll just. Oh, right. Wallace Road is not here. Okay. Hearing none, I'll close the public comments. Moving on now for ordinances for hearing. Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance for hearing number 18-3166?
Bond ordinance appropriating $2,500,000 and authorizing issuance of $2,375,000 bonds or notes of the city for various improvements or purposes authorized to be undertaken by the City of Summit in the County of Union, New Jersey.
Councilwoman Liu.
Thank you, Council President. Tonight I have 4 ordinances for hearing. They all follow the same theme. As anyone who has been watching our council meetings this year, and as Mayor Rada stated, we worked very hard on the budget this year and brought in a 0% increase for the municipal budget, and that has all been approved. These 4 ordinances are now paying, a way of paying for those budget items that were approved by the council and that were worked on so hard by all the city staff. And that we've discussed before. So the first one is a bond ordinance appropriating $2.5 million and authoring the issuance of $2,375,000 bonds, and these are for general various improvements. And I ask that this ordinance be heard tonight.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to open up the hearing. First, I'd like to ask any members of council who would like to speak about the ordinance. Anybody from council? Any members of the public that would like to speak about it? About this first one? Yes? No, this is not your, but if you want to talk about this one, it's fine. Okay.
Any chiefs of police may want to speak to
that. Okay. Any other discussion from members of council? I would just want to say, just generally with regard to all of these ordinances, as Councilwoman Little said, this is based upon having the discussions that we did already in the budget, but the specific items that are in these ordinances that are referred to for what we're going to spend, they come again up for council to discuss and look at. And so those of us who've been here for a long time, referred to as a second bite of the apple kind of concept, but it is true that we'll get another opportunity to look specifically, and at that time, usually what happens is you get the details of exactly what the project is, the actual numbers as far as, and the timeframes, and who's actually going to do the work. So this is not the last we will hear about the specific items that are being discussed in these bond ordinances. But with that, I'll close the hearing for the first bond ordinance. Moving on, the second one. 18-3167, Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance?
Bond ordinance appropriating $750,000 and authorizing issuance of $712,500 bonds or notes of the city for various sewer utility improvements or purposes authorized to be undertaken by the City of Summit in the County of Union, New Jersey.
Councilwoman Liu.
Thank you, Council President. And Ordinance 183167 is the bond ordinance that appropriates money to be used for the sewer utility improvements, and I ask that this ordinance be heard tonight.
Second.
Any comments from members of council? Any comments from members of the public? Further discussion? Okay, I'll close this hearing. Third ordinance, 18-3168, Madam Clerk.
Bond ordinance appropriating $101,000 and authorizing issuance of $95,950 bonds or notes of the city for various parking utility improvements or purposes authorized to be undertaken by the City of Summit, County of Union, New Jersey.
Councilwoman Liu.
Thank you, Council President. And as stated before, this bond ordinance authorizes the issuance of bonds or notes to pay for various parking utility improvements, and I ask that this ordinance be heard tonight.
Second.
Any comments from members of council? Comments from members of the public? Further discussion? Okay, going to close this hearing. Last ordinance, 18-3169.
Bond ordinance providing for the improvement of various roads in and by the City of Summit in the County of Union, New Jersey, appropriating $1,560,000 therefore, directing a special assessment of part of the cost thereof, and authorizing issuance of $1,482,000 bonds or notes of the city for financing same.
Councilwoman Liu.
Thank you, Council President. And this final ordinance provides for funding of various road improvements, including Wallace Road, Hobart Avenue, Linden Place, Oakland Place, Laurel Avenue, Larned Road, and these are all for road improvements and special assessment, and I ask that this ordinance be heard tonight.
Second.
Comments from members of council? Comments from members of the public? Yes.
You might need assistance with opening up that application.
Okay.
I don't know if any of our students...
Hello, my name is David Goodstein, Goodstein, 25 Wallace Road. I am here tonight because I understand you're voting on the ordinance to improve Wallace Road. I did bring a little video, if I could show that.
Absolutely. Maybe if you need help, Mr. Goodstein, one of the interns, maybe you guys could help him with putting it in. See? You're putting our interns to work even after hours.
Computer engineering.
What this will show is the flooding problem that we have, and we have had for the last 26 years. And we've been trying to get the council to get something done, and what this will show, I was here, I believe, 2 months ago, and I showed some pictures. But this video will show you approximately 4 or 5 little videos of the last couple of years of the flooding problem that we have. And the ordinance is to fix our sidewalks, curbing, and street, but it's not going to solve the drainage problem. Now, I spoke to the town engineer last week, and he said, well, when I questioned him and said, will this solve our flooding problem, he said no. All it's going to do is make the street look better. And I think by putting curbing in, it's going to channel the water faster down the road. It's the one that says full.
Mr. Goodstein, I just want to let you know, I took a tour of Wallace Road with Aaron Schrager, our city engineer.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, we can wait till after the video. Or you, no, I'll speak. And I know that it's a strong concern. I know that when you were here last time, we talked to Paul Cascades
Right.
as well, who mentioned that they have a plan for attacking this.
But not the drainage,
Okay.
because they told me there's an 18-inch sewer pipe in there, and they do not plan on even touching the sewer pipe unless there's a problem. Now, the biggest problem, as you can see, is it going? Is the amount of water that comes off of the golf course. Now, this is my neighbor's yard, which is normally a little creek about 2 feet wide. This is the street when it starts to flood. As you can see, the sewer can't hold the water. That's the street. Now, there's the golf course. That becomes an ocean. You see in the background. There's the manhole overflowing. And you will see the next video will show the amount of water that's coming down the street. The sewers cannot handle it. Now, this is the lowest point, so all the water collects here. This is just an average heavy rain. But when we get some bigger, heavier floods, it cannot get under that bridge, as you can see. So it starts to come up the top, where you will see how much water. This is the lower end, the northern end, which is not too bad here, but you will see. That's usually about a little trickle, about 2 feet wide. That's coming off of the golf course. What you see on the right there is grass. It's supposed to be grass. It just becomes one gigantic lake. And those in the background, if you can see, those are not roads. That's water coming off of the golf course.
And that's Canoe Brook that we're
No,
looking
that's
at? Or
Wallace.
that's our
golf course, you didn't
The golf course is on the left here. Now, this is just about a month ago. That cone is there because the town put it there because the road caved in from all the water.
Bless you.
As you can see, the sewers can't handle it. So this is my neighbor's backyard. The whole backyard is underwater. I'm sure most people wouldn't want that coming through their backyard. That's the water come through. Again, that's normally 2 feet wide. And then coming up, I believe you will see the amount of water coming down Wallace again onto the sidewalks. That whole fence was knocked out. That little bridge there is 5 feet above the creek. You can see there's only about 8 inches sticking out above it. There's the golf course again. Most of this water comes off of the golf course. Over the years, they've done a couple improvements over there to the golf course, but it has made it worse on the street.
This is the Canoe Brook Golf Course,
Yes.
all of it, right? The water's
Canoe.
Canoe Brook.
Canoe Brook. Again, those are not roads that you see over there, that's water making its way down to the pond. Now here's the sidewalk. This is my sidewalk. This is the amount of water coming down the street. To me, that's a drainage problem. What curbing is going to do there, I don't know. Only going to channel it into the street. It's going to get down to the bottom. As you can see, the whole street is flooded, which happens about 10 or 12 times a year when we have heavy rain. And I got a notice 2 months ago, they wanted me to fix the sidewalks. I said, I'm not going to fix the sidewalks until you fix the flooding problem, because they're sinking, and you're going to put new ones in now. And by digging up the dirt and putting fresh dirt and soil under there, they're going to put new sidewalks in. Within a year, they're going to start to sink again. And who's going to have to pay for it? I live on the corner. I have 53 slabs have to be replaced with the curbing. It's going to cost me over $10,000 to have you fix this. But I'm debating, I mean, I'd love to have it fixed, have the problem fixed, but what's going to happen in a year or two from now? So that's my concern and our neighbors.
Understood.
Yeah. How long have you lived in that street?
Since '92.
And it's been a problem since '92,
I
right?
started complaining in '94.
But the first year you were there was a problem as well?
Oh, yeah.
Like going back even farther?
Yeah, it probably just didn't have as many major storms
Right.
as we did there. But as you can see, this is all water, this is all coming off of the golf course,
Coming off of
Canoe Brook.
Canoe Brook, that's what yeah.
Yeah. Canoe Brook's over to the left over here.
And yes, I know we took a tour of the whole waterways of where the water comes from that ends up there.
Well, if
We
you
went to
watch
the
this
very-
video a little further up, you'll see it coming through the fence. There it is. That's coming
Yeah.
through their fence.
No, I mean, we looked at where it
That's
comes
the
from,
curbing.
from its initial source, and then all the way down. It's an interesting problem. It's a difficult problem, is what I mean.
Yeah.
Not interesting to you. It's not. It's
Right.
terrible, but it's a difficult problem
Right.
because it's a historical path of the water. And from what I understand, a lot of the work that has to be done to prevent that type of flooding has to be done by the golf course, I believe, by Canoe Brook.
I don't know.
Madam Mayor, do you have?
But I know that our guys are looking into it, and I know they're very serious about it.
Well, the engineer that I spoke to, I believe, Aaron.
Sure, go ahead. Yes.
He said to me, I said, are there any plans to fix the drains, make them bigger? He said, no. I said, well, I know there's 2 drains across the street from me on the grass that have been broken for many years that I've complained about, because the water shoots out of the ground like oil.
So those drains are broken? The drains are broken
There are
itself?
two holes in the ground for years have been there. There's holes probably about 12 inches in diameter every time it rains, because the water just shoots out of there and washes it away.
Madam Mayor?
Sir, hi. I was here last week when you were here
Right.
in the evening, when you were speaking with Aaron
Yes.
and Rick Matias. And what we're talking about tonight is a bond for authorizing the expenditure of monies for these certain roads.
Right.
I believe Aaron said that at the time, the other night, last week, that they don't have the plans yet for exactly what they're going to do.
Right.
They were going to do some engineering work, so that just because the council may or may not approve the expenditure of the money tonight, doesn't mean that it's cast in stone as to what they're exactly going to do at Wallace Road.
Right.
They recognize that there's an issue. They've been in touch with the county, and I know that one of the county manager was down there, county engineer was down there looking at
Right.
that bridge. There's more work to be done, and I think you shouldn't assume that if we pass this, if the council passes this tonight, that all that they will do is curbing. They may, I don't know, but I do know that Aaron said to you, and I heard that, they've got to do the engineering studies and the plans to determine what it is they're going to do. I just don't want you to think that if the council passes the ordinance tonight, that means that all the plans are set and that they know exactly what they're going to do. They have a
Well-
general notion, but
Well, what happens if they
Specific.
find out as they start the work, they say, you know what, these sewers are in very bad shape, we need to replace them. Now, where's that money gonna come from? All of a sudden, $700,000 project could become 2 or 3 times that price.
I can't answer that, sir, to be honest with you. But I know that it would make sense to do what is right,
Well, that's kind
rather
of the
than just
problem. I
waste the
mean,
money.
I can answer that question. So if that is the determination, and there was a cost estimate that was greater than what we budgeted this year for this, and this is one of many capital projects within this road budget it's a part of this bond ordinance, so it's not solely Wallace Road. But if there's a determination that the project cost is double what we have allocated in the capital budget, then we would come back to the council and amend the capital budget if we were doing that this year, and then we would do another bond ordinance to fund that. So there's opportunities to do that. It's not the end-all. And all we're doing right now is setting up the authorization for the city to finance any capital projects that we do, but there are a number of steps that we have to take. And that project specific to Wallace Road has yet to be planned. They're just the early stages, but at least setting up potential funding for what other types of work we have to do over there.
Okay, then could you answer my question that I asked before? What happens if they go ahead, everything is put in, the sidewalks go in a year or 2 from now they start sinking? Is it my responsibility to repair them again?
Sir, I think there's going to be a lot more deliberation on Wallace Road before we do any work.
It has to be, right? What you're showing, and we've met before, this is a 30-year problem, right? I mean,
Right.
because you said 1994.
Right.
So we're in 2018 here, we're sitting here. This has been going on, obviously, for a very long time. And I will say from my perspective, I find it troubling because I think in this sense, we tell people that when they do construction, they are supposed to try to retain the water on their property.
Right.
So that, nobody gets an exception for that. Golf courses
Including
don't get
the golf
an
course.
exception for it. That's my point.
So
My
can-
point is Canoe Brook does not get an exception like everybody else who's in town, who has an obligation. And so that's where we have to have a conversation, because it's not, the water's coming off somebody's property effectively onto your property.
Right,
If it wasn't a golf course, if it was somebody else's house, you'd be here with a neighbor,
right.
right? Saying, my neighbor, because they decided to do a large construction and tear down all their trees, has this big storm of water coming down my property. We don't try to, we try to avoid that by making people having to retain stormwater onto their property.
So can the town talk to the golf course?
We have to. I believe we have to. I think there's no other we have, right? And I think we have to talk to them now. It doesn't, from my perspective, it doesn't make sense for us to spend money on Wallace Road
Right.
and improve it and have it destroyed, right? That doesn't make any sense to anybody
Right.
around here.
As much
We're
as
not
I
gonna
want
do
it
that.
improved, I hate
Right.
to see it be done
You want
twice.
your road improved, we want your road improved.
Right.
It needs to be improved, but it needs to be improved at a point in time when after we do the improvement, it doesn't get destroyed in the next rainstorm.
Right,
And so we're not going to go ahead and start spending money on it in that way. So the
Right.
sequence of it has to be first to try to deal with the water situation.
well, what did the golf course say when you spoke to them?
I wasn't a part of the conversation, I just know there's been conversation.
So what, we clearly, this ordinance sets up a mechanism. In some ways, it's good to have this ordinance done the way it is, because you know why? Because we have to deal with the issue of having to pass money for Wallace Road. We're not going to get there unless we have figured out what's going on with that water situation. 30 years is much too long. Absolutely. Obviously, none of us have been involved
Yeah,
in
I mean,
that situation.
the names and
People
faces
have
change, that's
yeah,
it.
people have kicked the can down the road. The road has come to an end.
Right.
We will try to deal with this. Beth?
I just want to reiterate to you, and I think I said at this last meeting, that Aaron Schrager had taken me to the site and showed me all of the water paths and all of the things before you and your neighbors came to us with the first video. This is something that's very much on their minds, that he is very concerned with, and they realize, and we all realize, how big a problem this is. And the pictures that were shown to us at the last meeting, this video, I think all of us are very disturbed by seeing this, and we are not blowing this off. And we thank you for bringing this to our attention and for showing us what a problem this is for you and your neighbors. And we are not going to brush this aside or try to, put a Band-Aid on a, bleeding wound to try to help you. We're going to try to figure out how to do this correctly, and that's doing it in the right steps, talking to Canoe Brook, figuring out what the problems are and fixing them before we do anything else. But this ordinance is somewhat of a separate issue, because it just is the mechanism of which we can start funding these projects. But it does not set out the details of each project or what in detail is going to happen, and that's going to happen at a later date, and that will be done. And I can tell you from myself, and I think from my fellow council members, that we are all going to take this very seriously, because this is obviously a very serious problem for you and your neighbors.
Yeah.
And we
It's not
realize
an
that.
acceptable condition to keep on going this
Right,
way, right?
right.
So none of us believe that it's an acceptable condition. We're going to have to deal with it. We have to sit down with the Canoe Brook folks, and we have to figure out, they may say, no, it's not their problem, it's coming from some other source, but we have to go backwards, up
Right.
the stream, try to figure out where the sources are and how we can do it. As Councilman Gould said, it becomes a complicated issue, so it's not necessarily it's going to be solved overnight. But that doesn't mean, just because it's not solved overnight, doesn't mean that it's being ignored. That's not the case. So we're going to take this, we have to deal with it. Obviously, people haven't been able to figure it out in 30 years or haven't focused on it. We're going to focus on it, and we're going to get it done.
I appreciate that. One other quick thing. Rose Lane is the little cross street.
Yes.
It's in worse condition than Wallace. Is there any way to tie that in, to have that fixed? Because the potholes are so bad from the water and all the heavy trucks that drive over that every day. They go into the golf course with dump trucks filled with sand, rock, all year long. They come in, they sneak in at night between 3 and 4 in the morning, so nobody sees them, and they're just tearing up that street. The road can't handle it.
I know that the engineering department does a survey of the roads in town, and the engineering department for Summit does a survey of the roads in town, and they have plans in place for which roads need to be replaced. And some of the consideration is that, some problems would need to be fixed before they do the paving or the fixing. So that might be the consideration about why Rose isn't in here, but I'm happy to make a note and to talk with the city engineer about that as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody
Thank
else?
you.
Okay, thank you.
Good to
Thank
see
you.
you again.
I guess I'll hear from the town again eventually.
Yeah. We'll work on
Yes.
this. Please.
I mean, what I was trying to say to you is, we are working on it. It is very complex, more complex than I expected when you first presented it, and that's why there's a whole series of 5 different bodies of water that the water goes through,
On the
from
golf
one
course.
to the other. No,
Oh, you're talking about the bridges?
I'm talking
All the way
about
up.
all the way up from the highest point in Summit.
Right.
There's a body of water there that then feeds to another body and another body and another body, and that's what I was trying to suggest. It's like, I thought, oh, we could just fix this drain, but it's
Right.
not. It's not that simple to just fix that drain,
I said,
from what I
to the engineer,
understand.
why can't they tap into the sewer line on the highway?
That
It's
was
gotta be a-
New Jersey Department of, NJ Department of Environmental.
Yeah, well, it's EPA's involved, but
Yeah.
it's
DOT.
DOT is the one that regulates that.
DOT, but there was also we can't just open the floodgates and let the storm sewer water, right, the DEP,
That's
we can't let
DEP.
that
Different
go.
jurisdiction.
And then there's the sort of Passaic River Watershed Alliance, and there's a lot, it just, that's what I discovered, was that it's a lot of stakeholders.
And all it takes is one to clog it up and it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, but I know that Paul and Aaron and our great team are really working hard on it, and this man, so.
We will work on this.
Thank you, sir.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to us.
Okay. Any further comments? Okay. I'll close that hearing on that ordinance 18-3169. Okay, moving on to ordinances for final consideration. Madam Clerk, would you please read the title for 18-3166?
Bond ordinance appropriating $2,500,000 and authorizing issuance of $2,375,000 bonds or notes of the city for various improvements or purposes authorized to be undertaken by the City of Summit, County of Union, New Jersey.
Okay. Councilwoman Wu.
Thank you, Council President. And as we just discussed, I ask that we approve ordinance 18-3166 for various improvements in the city.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mr. Bowman?
Aye.
Ms. Fox?
Aye.
Mr. Gould?
Aye.
Ms. Little?
Aye.
Ms. Ogden?
Aye.
President Naidu.
Aye. Okay, moving along. Finance and Personnel 18-3167. Madam Clerk, would you please read?
Bond ordinance appropriating $750,000 and authorizing issuance of $712,500 bonds or notes of the city for various sewer utility improvements or purposes authorized to be undertaken by the City of Summit, County of Union, New Jersey.
Councilwoman Wu.
Thank you, Council President. This is the bond ordinance that allows for funding of the various sewer utility improvements, and I ask that we approve this ordinance.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bowman?
Aye.
Ms. Fox?
Aye.
Mr. Gould?
Aye.
Ms. Little?
Aye.
Ms. Ogden?
Aye.
President Naidu.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Finance and Personnel 18-3168. Madam Clerk, please.
Bond ordinance appropriating $101,000 and authorizing issuance of $95,950 bonds or notes of the city for various parking, utility improvements or purposes authorized to be undertaken by the City of Summit, County of Union, New Jersey.
Councilwoman Wu.
Thank you, Council President. This is the ordinance that authorizes funding for the various parking utility improvements, and I ask that we approve this ordinance.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bowman?
Aye.
Ms. Fox?
Aye.
Mr. Gould?
Aye.
Ms. Little?
Aye.
Ms. Ogden?
Aye.
President Naidu.
Aye. Okay, moving along, last ordinance, Finance and Personnel 18-3169. Madam Clerk, please.
Bond ordinance providing for the improvement of various roads in and by the City of Summit, County of Union, New Jersey, appropriating $1,560,000 therefore, directing a special assessment of part of the cost thereof, and authorizing issuance of $1,482,000 bonds or notes of the city for financing same.
Councilwoman Wu.
Thank you, Council President, and this is the ordinance that authorizes funding for improvements to Wallace Road, Hobart Avenue, Linden Place, Oakland Place, Laurel Avenue, Larned Road, and various road improvements and special assessments, and I ask that we approve this ordinance.
Second.
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Mr. Bowman?
Aye.
Ms. Fox?
Aye.
Mr. Gould?
Aye.
Ms. Little?
Aye.
Ms. Ogden?
Aye.
President Naidoo?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, moving on, ordinances for introduction. We have two of them, one from the Law Committee, Councilman Gould.
Thank you,
Sorry, I'll introduce. It's Law 5584.
Shall I read it?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Sorry.
An ordinance repealing Chapter 4, General Licensing, Section 4-26, Taxi Cabs and Auto Liveries in its entirety, and adopting a new Chapter 4-26 entitled Auto Cabs/Taxis and Limousines/Livery Service of the Code of the City of Summit.
Councilman Gould.
Thank you, Council President. This ordinance that I'm introducing is to bring it's basically housekeeping, to bring the City of Summit in conformance and compliance with the state. So we're repealing the old ordinance that was done back in the 1980s and replacing it with a shiny new ordinance.
I'll second it. And this is an ordinance for introduction, so we will be hearing it at our next council meeting. And moving on, buildings and grounds.
Shall I vote on it?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, sorry. Forgot the roll call, please.
Mr. Bowman?
Aye.
Ms. Fox?
Aye.
Mr. Gould?
Aye.
Ms. Little?
Aye.
Ms. Ogden?
Aye.
President Naidoo?
Aye. Okay. Moving on now to buildings and grounds, 5753. Madam Clerk, would you please read the title?
An ordinance amending the code, Chapter 35, Development Regulations Ordinance, Article 1, General Provisions, subsection 35-1.6, Definitions, and Article 4, Zoning, subsection 35-4.3-9, CRBD, Central Retail Business District Zone.
Councilwoman Fox.
Thank you, Council President. This ordinance will amend Article 4 of the Development Regulations to expand the permitted uses in the Central Retail Business District, also known as the CRBD. This ordinance is based on the recommendations of the Summit Downtown Board of Trustees to address increased pressures on downtown businesses from e-commerce. The Planning Board has considered these recommendations and made further recommendations for additional uses consistent with the CRBD zone. The ordinance also applies design guidelines to the development in the CRBD zone to govern the appearance of elements, including facades and windows. This ordinance is an important step in the ongoing comprehensive review of Summit's development regulations. This comprehensive review will address current challenges and will also streamline the development process while maintaining the character of our community, consistent with the master plan revision. I move this ordinance for introduction.
Do I hear a second? Oh, is this me? Second.
It's you.
Yeah, it's me, second. Yes, because Mike's not here. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bowman?
Aye.
Ms. Fox?
Aye.
Mr. Gould?
Aye.
Ms. Little?
Aye.
Ms. Ogden?
Aye.
President Naidoo?
Aye. Okay. Moving on to resolutions. We have first Finance and Personnel, 5755. Councilwoman Little.
This resolution is to authorize disbursement of the Sherry Murphy Memorial Fund. And some background on the fund: it was a fund that was established in 2012 in the name of Sherry Murphy, who was a former city employee who worked at the library. She died at a young age, leaving 2 young children, and city employees donated and raised funds for several saving bonds to be used for her children's education. There is a small balance remaining in the fund. It was recently discovered that that small balance had not been dispersed to her children, and we are requesting that those funds be dispersed to her children and that fund be closed. And I ask that this resolution be approved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion by members of council? Discussion by members of public? Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to law, 5764. Councilman Gould.
Thank you, Council President. I move for a resolution to renew the 2018-2019 liquor licenses for a number of establishments in town. They've met all the requirements for the renewal.
Second? I'll second. Any comments from members of council? Comments from members?
So I guess, this isn't all the liquor licenses. There's still some outstanding, is that correct?
That is correct. I think they come up on a different cycle.
As soon as they,
Yes, thank you.
Council President, as
Yep.
soon as they meet the requirements set forth by the state, then they're given clearance to be renewed.
Any further discussion by members of council? Any comments, questions by members of the public? Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Moving on to buildings and grounds, we have 3 resolutions. First one is 5763. Councilwoman Fox.
Thank you, Council President. This resolution authorizes the placement of a historical marker on city property to commemorate the 120th anniversary of Fountain Baptist Church, which it was the first African-American congregation in the city of Summit. The church was originally located on the campus of City Hall on the west side of Chestnut Street. The marker will be placed as close to that original location as possible. The marker will be consistent in appearance with other historical markers in the downtown area, and this placement is supported by members of the Summit Historic Preservation Commission. Fountain Baptist Church will bear the cost for the marker and its installation. I enthusiastically move this resolution for approval.
I'll second it. Any comments from members of council? Any comments from members? Well, Mary.
I was just going to comment quickly that I know you've been waiting a long time for this. I'm very glad to see this on the agenda tonight, so yay.
Okay. Members of the public.
So I can move down the-
Yes. Betty, you can move.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. Council President Nadeau, Mayor Radist, and members of the council, I am Betty Livingston Adams, ADAMS. I live at 12 Shadyside Avenue. I'm a 30-plus year resident of Summit, a Yale-trained historian, and an associate minister at Fountain Baptist Church. As was stated, this month we are celebrating our 120th anniversary. In commemorating this milestone of continuous presence and service in our town, I wish to thank the mayor and city council for the resolution supporting the erection of a historical marker indicating the church's first permanent location at 19-21 Chestnut Avenue. In 1897, 27-year-old Violet Johnson moved from Brooklyn, New York to Summit, a place in the process of transformation from a country village into a New York City suburb. Within a year, the domestic servant had organized a Baptist church. And I must say that was a year before Summit was incorporated as a city. The decision to create a sacred place for African American workers thrust Johnson into public space and on the path of Christian activism. Later, others would extol her, quote, genius for organization, religious, civic, social, and industrial. In the 1890s, Summit's African American population barely exceeded 100 out of nearly 6,000 residents, and none owned real property. Immediately following the formal recognition as a Baptist church in 1898, the parishioners, though few in number, decided to establish a building fund to construct, quote, an edifice suitable for divine worship. 8 years later, in 1906, the fledgling congregation purchased 2 lots, numbers 19 and 21, on the westerly side of Chestnut Avenue at a cost of $2,000. In August 1908, the church laid a cornerstone and on Christmas Eve marched into its roofed-over basement. 10 years later, in 1918, the congregation entered its completed building. The Fountain Baptist congregation worshiped at 21 Chestnut Avenue until 1989, when it sold the property to the City of Summit for the construction of our new City Hall campus, and subsequently marched into its current location at 116 Glenside Avenue. Of course, relating the entire narrative of faith and courage of this congregation is not the purpose of the marker, nor is it intended to remediate the erasure of an African American presence in downtown Summit. However, it is our desire that the marker convey an enduring presence and, one hopes, an enlarged vision of possibilities for our town. For one of our goals in this year's celebration is to acknowledge Summit's appreciation and respect for religious, cultural, racial, and class diversity, as well as interfaith cooperation. We are grateful to the city's Director of Community Services, Paul Cascase, who not only worked with, but walked with us to reach this step. And of course, to the City Council for helping to make this significant part of Summit's history visible. I wish to acknowledge others who have walked with us as we mark this milestone in Fountains and Summit's intertwined histories. First, Reverend Harry Eld, pastor of Wallace Chapel African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church. As many of you know, Wallace Chapel is listed on the New Jersey and National Registers of Historic Places by the United States Department of the Interior. Further, Wallace Chapel was designated a historic landmark of the AME Zion Church in 2008. And I should add, it is also a site of New Jersey's historical Women's Heritage Trail. Next, I'd like to give thanks to Dolores Ward, Chair of Summit's Historic Preservation Commission, who takes seriously, along with the Council, a belief that our historic buildings, structures, and streetscapes are an intrinsic part of the value of the community and are deserving of respect and preservation. I also wish to publicly recognize the pastor of Fountain Baptist Church, Reverend Dr. J. Michael Sanders, for his foresight. His 35-year tenure in Summit has been a benefit to those who worship at Fountain and to this community. Indeed, it was his interest in exploring the history of the congregation that led me to consider Summit as a site of scholarly research and the publication of my book, Black Women's Christian Activism, The Struggle for Social Justice in a Northern Suburb. Today, Summit, New Jersey and Violet Johnson are being discussed in leading universities and colleges and theological seminaries around the country. Thank you for joining us in this 120th celebration.
Thank you very much, Betty. If you could give us a copy of those comments, we'll put it in the official record.
I would be happy to do that.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments from members of the public? Comments from members of council? Councilwoman Little.
I just wanted to thank you for doing this. And I personally had no idea that City Hall sat on the original site of Fountain Baptist Church, and I'm very happy to know that. And I think it's a wonderful way to commemorate the original site of Fountain Baptist Church, and I think this is a really great way to value that. So thank you.
Councilman Gould.
Yeah, I just thank you, Dr. Adams, and I was hoping that we could do something with the website. I guess Amy Cairns has left, but do something with the website about that as well. And when the plaque goes up, it's just so it's a great story.
I think that's a great idea. Any other comments? Let me just.
Council President, I can follow up with, since this came out of Buildings and Grounds, I can follow up with Amy Cairns to get this on the website.
I would really appreciate that.
I'd like to know when it's going to be actually installed. So,
Oh, absolutely. Come on.
just when, do you happen to know, do you know when the marker is going to be installed?
We haven't worked out the installation, but we certainly would like to have it installed by June 24th.
Is it fabricated at this point?
It's actually done. I was so very happy that when we contacted Siwa Studios and told them what we were doing, they said, well, it usually takes months to get this done. They managed to get the post and the plaque itself done in something like 2.5 weeks for us. I know. I think they were as thrilled in Marietta, Ohio, that this was going up. And it says something about, I guess, the amount of business that Summit has done with them in putting markers around town.
So please make sure we are in contact about when it occurs.
Yeah.
We'd I'd like to be there.
Yes,
Good. We'd like to have you
would
there.
all
We
like
would
be
love
there.
to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Adams.
Any other comments from members of council? Let me just say, as Dr. Adams said, we here in Summit respect and celebrate diversity. And it is an important, integral part of our community. Socioeconomic, cultural diversity is what makes Summit Summit. It is, without a doubt, the cornerstone of what this is as a community, as a society. And so I think this is a great thing, because when people walk by, they should know the history of the place they are in. Okay, with that, call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Moving on. Buildings and Grounds, number 2, 5723. Councilwoman Fox.
Thank you, Council President. This resolution authorizes the reappointment of John Kostrowski as a plumbing subcode official for the city. Under the New Jersey Uniform Construction Code, subcode officials are appointed for an initial term of 4 years and then must be reappointed by Common Council. Mr. Kostrowski was initially appointed on July 29, 2014, and has received positive reviews from the Summit construction official and the director of the Department of Community Services. I would like to move this resolution.
Second. Comments from members of council? Comments from members of the public? Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good. 5760, Councilwoman Fox.
Thank you, Council President. This resolution is to appoint a zoning board member for the alternate 4 position. So the zoning board has a vacancy for the alternate member 4, and pursuant to discussion in closed session, this resolution authorizes the appointment of Christina Davis to the zoning board as alternate 4. I would like to move this resolution.
I'll second it. Comments from members of council? Comments from members of the public? Further discussion? Matt?
I just want to say that as the zoning board liaison, I'm thrilled to have Ms. Davis join the zoning board, and I'm glad we continue to get great volunteers in this town.
Thank you. Yes, agreed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Okay, great. Moving on to works. We have 5 works. Councilman Bowman, 5758.
Thank you, Council President Nadeau. Resolution 5758, Works 1, is to authorize the execution of a grant agreement for $100,000 from Union County, designated to offset the cost of the Springfield Avenue project about to be undertaken. This project will go from Morris Avenue to the railroad bridge right before Winbury's. Not the bridge going over Morris Avenue, or Morris Avenue Bridge going over the railroad, but the one right in front of here. The city has been delaying this project until the Morris Avenue Bridge is complete. With the end of this project near, we will be in a position to finish this project, and we will finish the CRBD project that Summit has been pursuing over the last couple of years. The grant money is part of $1.5 million that Union County has been awarding to improve infrastructure within the Union County. We thank Union County for this money, and we will put these funds to good use. I move we accept this resolution.
Second.
Thank you. Comments from members of council? Comments from members of the public? Any further discussion?
All right, it's well done with the grants. Keep them coming in.
Well, I think, let me just say, for those of you at home thinking about Springfield Avenue, if you recall, we have put in the sidewalk now from the eastern side of Summit going all the way up to downtown, road improvements. This finishes off at last stretch going up to the bridge, and of course we will wait till hopefully the bridge finally opens, but we're coming to the end of the tunnel. Anyway, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on. 5737,
Okay.
Councilman Goforth.
Works number 2 is to authorize the execution of an agreement between City of Summit and Summit Downtown Inc. For the installation and removal of over-the-street promotional banners over Springfield Avenue. This is an extension of last year's agreement where we had a 1-year contract with SDI. The program is beneficial both to the city as well as to SDI. It's a cost savings to SDI. We are fairly compensated to hang and remove these banners. The $125 cost, mobilization per occurrence will remain in effect for 5 years. I move we accept this resolution.
Second.
Any comments from members of council? Comments from members of the public? Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Works number 3.
Okay, Resolution 5765 is to reject bids and to authorize new advertisement of the 2018 curb and sidewalk project. The lowest bid was higher than what the engineers anticipated bids were, and these bids are believed to be high due to the timing requested that we had for this project. The city engineer is reworking the project specs, so the cost will be in line with budgeted money. I move we accept this resolution.
Second.
Any comments from members of council? Comments, questions? Any comments from members of the public? Further discussion? I assume when we get the new bids, we'll again have a chance to see what the timing is for when it would be constructed.
It will be exactly right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, works number 4.
Okay, Resolution 5538 is to authorize the Union County Cooperative Pricing purchase of road materials not to exceed $130,000. The supplier, Weldon Materials, out of Westfield, New Jersey. Building materials includes, but are not limited to, asphalt, concrete, various stones, and block grades is consistent in volume with prior years. However, due to recent oil price increases reflected in this resolution, we are 13% higher than increase over 2017 prices. One example is going from $46 a ton to $52 a ton for asphalt in 2018. I move we accept this resolution.
Second.
Any comments from members of council?
I'm just delighted we're getting the asphalt, so some of the projects that we have in the safety committee can move forward.
To move forward? Yes, thanks. Exactly right. But, you know, we have the pricing, and just so you know, we have pricing scheduled for 2019 as well as 2018. So we got them locked in, yes.
Oh, good, yes. Any comments from members of the public or questions? Okay. Further discussion? I mean, I think we all can see if we go to the gas station, the increase in gas prices, we know the prices of oil and petroleum-related products have gone up. It's not surprising. So there's nothing we can do about that.
We've been enjoying it for a while.
Exactly. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Works number 5.
Okay, Resolution 5761 is to appoint Recycling Advisory Committee members. As we discussed in closed session, we would like to welcome Richard Fiore, who is active in the Summit community as a volunteer for 1 year, and Rena Gaber, who is our student volunteer, who is going to be with us for, I believe, 2 years to the Recycling Committee. I move we accept this resolution as well.
Second.
Any comments from members of council? Comments from members of the public? Further discussion?
I would just like to say, as liaison to the Recycling Advisory Committee, that I welcome Rich and Rena and look forward to working with them, and welcome to the committee.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Moving on, consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So
presented?
moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Moving on, we're almost done. Council member comments and new business. Does anybody have any comments? New business to discuss? Mary, sorry.
I'll be really quick. We got a text from Mike, Summit Lacrosse 163.
Okay, there you go. Nice. Very nice. Anybody else? I will just put in a plug for Reeves Reed Arboretum, which is having its Art in the Garden this Saturday at 7 p.m. It is always a beautiful event done spectacularly well by an organization that is truly a gem in the city. So, plug for Reeves Reed. Now I have
That reminded me, I don't know if you're going to talk about, but the Park Line is having their...
No, I was not. But
Okay, but
But there you go. The Park Line is having their event Friday night at, what is it, Wonder Forest? Wonder Forest. So that's another beautiful night, and it's going to be a beautiful night and have great views, and good time will be had by all.
Okay.
I've got one too. Make a Difference run on Saturday. I don't think that's been announced by anyone, has it?
Nope, not
No,
tonight.
no, you just did it.
I just did. So I believe it's 9 o'clock Saturday morning,
At the
and
Green.
it's honoring Detective Matt Tarantino. So I hope everyone will show up.
It's 5K walk and, a 5K run and walk. And,
Yes, I think there's also a 1 mile fun run walk thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 5K run and the 1 mile walk. At 9 o'clock at the Village Green. Begins and ends at the Village Green. I was actually going to just, Summer Public Art puts, various art things all over the community, mostly in the green and places. They just did a new installation yesterday, and it's a program that an artist has been working with a group of students at the high school, as well as 2 art teachers. And his name is Dan Fenelon. He's sort of been their mentor. And they've created this really cool sculptures, wooden structures, and they did the installation yesterday morning. I think it's going to be dedicated one night next week, but it's on the northeast quadrant of the green, so as you're facing the train station on Broad Street, it's on the right-hand side. It's very colorful, and it's called Spirits of Summit. So they were very excited to have the opportunity to work with this artist and then have something that's in the public display, so.
The dedication is June 13th.
Right.
6 o'clock.
Right, 13th, yeah. So enjoy, and just try to take a look at it, it's fun.
And this was something that Estelle and Vivian talked about when they came, and I think it's such a cool thing to have our students involved with an artist doing stuff here.
Well, the students were so proud. They were so excited doing the installation. It was a beautiful morning. They were proud of their work, and they were just thrilled that they are going to be recognized by the community. I mean, that's pretty cool. So anyway.
That's great. Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.